Most men never notice it when it happens. They think they're being confident, transparent, putting it out there. But I've watched it enough times to know the truth. When a man explains where he's going before he's arrived, he's already bleeding power. I've been that man, talking too much, sharing plans too early, feeling relief just from saying the words out loud. For a moment, it feels like progress, like movement. But nothing in the real world actually changes. The bills don't disappear. The body doesn't get stronger. The respect doesn't arrive. The men who truly win don't sound impressive. They don't motivate. They don't announce. They don't narrate the grind like they're afraid it won't count unless someone hears it. They move quietly, carrying tension instead of releasing it. They let pressure stay where it belongs, inside, until it turns into action. Silence does something words never can. It keeps the fire lit. It refuses to give you emotional credit for work you haven't done yet. And that discomfort most men run from? That's the very thing that sharpens you. This isn't about being mysterious or cold. It's about discipline, containment, control. The understanding that talking calms the nerves, but action changes reality. What you're about to hear isn't motivation, it's observation. It's pattern recognition. It's the quiet code successful men live by, but never explain, because explanation would weaken it. If you're ready, we'll move into the body next. They don't announce the grind. Most men talk about their plans because they're trying to feel powerful before they actually are. They say what they're going to do, who they're going to become, how different life will look someday. Speaking it out loud gives them a small sense of relief, like they've already moved a step forward. But nothing has changed yet. The words just quiet the discomfort of still being stuck. I've seen it over and over. Talking becomes a substitute for action. The mind mistakes articulation for progress, and the tension that should have pushed a man into motion gets released through conversation. He feels calmer, more settled, and that calm slowly kills urgency. Discipline fades, not because he's lazy, but because he already rewarded himself emotionally. Successful men understand this trap, even if they've never named it. They don't announce the grind because they don't want relief. They want pressure. Silence keeps the heat on. No validation, no encouragement, no one clapping early. Just the weight of unfinished work sitting on their chest every day. Silence isn't insecurity. It's containment. It's a man holding his energy instead of bleeding it out through explanations. When nothing is said, there's nowhere for the pressure to escape. That pressure sharpens focus. It forces movement. It makes excuses feel louder and harder to ignore. Men who build don't need witnesses. They know the moment they start explaining themselves, they invite opinions, doubt, and noise. And noise is deadly to momentum, so they move quietly, stacking evidence instead of stories. While other men are busy talking about who they're becoming, these men are already changing their position. And by the time the results show up, there's nothing left to explain. They position instead of declaring. Most men declare their plans because they want the feeling of power before they've earned it. They talk about the future like it's already happening, hoping the words will close the gap between where they are and where they want to be. Saying it out loud takes the edge off the frustration. It makes the waiting easier. And that's the problem. I've watched men announce big moves they never made, not because they lacked ability, but because talking gave them relief too early. Their nervous system relaxed. The urgency softened. The pressure that should have driven them forward dissolved into conversation. They felt busy, felt committed, but nothing on the board actually changed. Strong men don't declare. They position. Quietly. Deliberately. They shift their environment, their habits, their schedule, their leverage, without drawing attention to it. They understand that real power doesn't come from being seen preparing. It comes from already being in place when others finally look up. Positioning doesn't need witnesses. It doesn't need encouragement or reassurance. It happens in silence, often unnoticed, while other men are still explaining what they plan to do someday. By the time the move becomes visible, it's already done. The ground has already shifted. There's a patience here most men never develop. It's the patience to stay uncomfortable without reaching for words to ease the tension. The patience to let progress stay invisible. The patience to trust that results will speak louder than any declaration ever could. Men who talk about the future live in imagination. Men who position themselves live in reality. One feels good immediately. The other changes everything over time. And that's the difference that keeps repeating itself. One man announces who he's becoming. The other quietly becomes it. They let results speak. Men who talk about the future live inside their heads. They rehearse who they're becoming, explain their intentions, defend their direction before anything real has taken shape. It feels productive, but it's still imagination. Builders don't live there. They stay grounded in what's happening now, where effort turns into something measurable. I learned this the hard way. Every time I explained myself too early, I slowed myself down. The more I talked, the more opinions entered the room. Advice, doubt, questions, expectations. What started as momentum turned into noise, and noise chipped away at focus. Successful men understand that results don't argue. They don't need context or clarification. When something works, it speaks in a language everyone understands. Money doesn't explain itself. Strength doesn't announce itself. Respect doesn't ask permission to exist. It simply shows up and rearranges the room. That's why they stay quiet while they're building. Not out of secrecy, but out of efficiency. They know the moment they open their mouth, they invite interference. So they keep stacking evidence instead of stories, letting reality form before anyone else gets a vote. While others are busy proving who they're becoming, these men are collecting proof. And when the proof finally appears, the conversation changes on its own. Questions disappear. Doubt fades. Explanations become unnecessary. The work introduces itself. And by the time people start paying attention, it's already too late to deny what's standing in front of them. They stop asking to be chosen. At some point, a man either outgrows validation or stays trapped chasing it. Most men spend their lives asking in quiet ways, asking for approval before they act, asking for reassurance before they decide, asking to be noticed, respected, chosen. And every time a man asks, he gives away leverage without realizing it. I remember what that need feels like. The urge to check where you stand, to make sure you're wanted, to feel safe before moving forward. It sounds reasonable, even mature, but underneath it is fear. Fear of being wrong, fear of standing alone, fear of moving without permission. Successful men don't operate from that place. They don't seek validation because they understand something most men never face. Power isn't granted through words, it's conceded through position. They don't ask to be chosen. They build lives that make choice unnecessary. They control their time, and that removes desperation. They're not rushing to be liked or understood. They understand scarcity, that presence has value only when it isn't guaranteed. And they regulate their emotions, refusing to chase reassurance when things feel uncertain. Average men need certainty before they move. High-status men move first and let certainty catch up later. They don't negotiate their worth or explain why they deserve a seat. They assume alignment, or they walk away quietly without drama. This isn't arrogance, it's calibration. Anything that requires excessive explanation is already misaligned. So they stop asking. They stop waiting. They stop hoping someone else will choose them. And when a man stops asking to be chosen, something shifts. The ground firms up beneath his feet. His energy changes, and people feel it long before they understand why. They assume alignment or walk away. Most men stay too long where things don't feel right. They sense the imbalance early, but they talk themselves out of it. They explain. They justify. They try to make it work because walking away feels like failure, or worse, rejection. I've done that before, staying in conversations, situations, and relationships that required constant clarification. Every step felt unstable, like the ground could shift at any moment. And instead of trusting that signal, I tried to smooth it over with words. Successful men don't do that. They don't argue for alignment. They assume it. If it's there, things move smoothly without force. If it's not, they don't push, convince, or linger. They step away quietly, without bitterness or drama. This isn't coldness, it's self-respect. They understand that anything requiring excessive explanation is already misaligned. When something fits, it doesn't need constant maintenance. It holds its shape under pressure. Average men try to be understood. Strong men pay attention to how things feel in motion. They don't need agreement to stay comfortable. They don't need reassurance to keep moving. They trust their calibration enough to walk away when the energy is wrong. Walking away isn't weakness. It's decisiveness without emotion. It's choosing stability over familiarity, direction over comfort. And every time a man does this, his internal standard sharpens. Over time, this becomes natural. He stops forcing doors open. He stops negotiating his place. He moves toward what aligns and lets the rest fall away on its own. They don't explain themselves. Most men feel a reflex to explain the moment they're misunderstood. A raised eyebrow, a quiet doubt, a question that feels off, and the body reacts like it's under threat. Words rush out. Context gets added. Edges get softened. It feels like self-defense, but it isn't. I've caught myself doing it, trying to clear the air, to make sure the other person gets it. But every explanation quietly hands over control. The moment you justify yourself, you accept their frame as higher than yours. You stop leading the meaning and start responding to it. Successful men understand the difference between clarity and justification. They're clear in their actions, clear in their decisions, clear in their boundaries. But they don't chase agreement. They know perception follows outcomes, not words, and no explanation can outrun weak results. Results are frame-proof. Money doesn't need context. Competence doesn't come with footnotes. Respect doesn't argue for its place. When something is real, it stands on its own and rearranges the room without asking. That's why they don't rush to correct every misunderstanding. They let time and consistency do the work. If someone doubts them, they keep moving. If someone questions their intent, they don't react. They understand that explaining is often just fear disguised as communication. By refusing to explain themselves, they protect momentum. They keep authority where it belongs. And slowly, without effort, the need for explanation disappears, because the results have already spoken. They let confusion filter weak alignment. Confusion makes most men uncomfortable. When they sense someone doesn't fully understand them, they rush to fix it. They clarify, explain, soften their stance, anything to restore comfort. But comfort isn't always a signal you're aligned. Sometimes it's just resistance to tension. I've learned to watch what confusion reveals. When someone misunderstands you, their next move tells you everything. Some demand reassurance. Some push for explanations. Some grow uneasy when things aren't clearly defined. That reaction is information. Successful men don't rush to clean it up. They let confusion sit. Not out of spite, and not to play games, but because confusion acts like a filter. It exposes who needs constant clarity to feel safe and who can stay grounded without it. Low alignment environments resist ambiguity. They need constant explanation to stay comfortable. Strong alignment doesn't. It holds even when everything isn't spelled out. So successful men don't chase people who collapse under uncertainty. This changes something internally. They stop reacting to every misinterpretation. They stop defending their intent. They trust who they are and what they're building enough to let time handle the sorting. If someone misunderstands them, they let it happen. Not because they don't care, but because they're disciplined. They know results will tell the story more accurately than words ever could. And over time, what remains around them is quieter, steadier, and aligned. Everything else falls away without resistance. They move from identity, not emotion. Most men wait to feel ready. They wait for confidence, clarity, motivation, some internal signal that tells them it's time. I've lived that cycle. It feels responsible, even self-aware, but it quietly hands control over to emotion. Successful men don't wake up asking how they feel. They wake up knowing who they are. That identity answers the question before emotion ever gets involved. When a man is clear on who he is, action stops being a debate. It becomes automatic. Emotion is unstable. It rises and crashes depending on sleep, stress, comfort, or praise. Men who build their lives on feeling good move inconsistently. They show up when it's easy and disappear when it isn't. Identity doesn't fluctuate. It doesn't care about mood. A man who knows who he is trains when he's tired, works when it's boring, and shows up when nothing feels rewarding. Not because he's forcing himself, but because that's what someone like him does. This is where separation happens. One man negotiates with his feelings every morning. The other already decided long ago. There's no internal argument, no drama, just execution. That's why successful men look calm under pressure. They aren't numb, they're anchored. Their behavior isn't redecided every day. And once action flows from identity instead of emotion, progress stops feeling heavy. It becomes inevitable. They normalize pain. By the time a man starts moving from identity, something else quietly leaves him. The need to call it sacrifice. Most men want their effort noticed. They want someone to acknowledge how hard it is, how much they've given up, how tired they feel. And when that recognition doesn't come, resentment creeps in. I know that feeling, doing the work and secretly hoping someone sees it, hoping the struggle counts for something on its own. But the truth is, pain doesn't reward explanation. It either shapes you or it drains you. Successful men don't dramatize pain. They don't complain about it either. They accept it as part of the terrain. Early mornings, long stretches of boredom, pressure, isolation, uncertainty. It's not framed as loss. It's just the cost of entry. Complaining releases pressure. It gives temporary relief, but that relief is expensive. It lets the tension out instead of letting it harden you. Endurance does the opposite. It compresses you over time, quietly building strength other men never develop. When pain becomes normal, it stops feeling personal. It's no longer, "Why is this happening to me?" It becomes, "Of course, this is part of it." And that shift keeps a man moving long after others start looking for exits. The men who last don't need applause to suffer. They just keep paying the price, calmly, consistently, until what once felt heavy becomes unremarkable. They decide before certainty. Most men wait because waiting feels responsible. They call it planning, caution, being smart. I used to tell myself the same thing. But underneath all that thinking was fear. The fear of being wrong, of moving too early, of stepping forward without guarantees. Successful men see it differently. They understand that clarity doesn't come before action. It comes after. You don't think your way into momentum. You move, and momentum reveals what's real. Action collapses fantasy. It exposes mistakes, friction, resistance, and that feedback is worth more than any amount of analysis. Men who move learn faster because reality starts talking back to them. Men who wait stay stuck inside their heads. Decisiveness isn't recklessness. It's commitment without emotional delay. It's choosing direction and allowing correction instead of paralysis. Successful men don't need to feel confident to act. They act, then adjust. Waiting feels safe, but it's expensive. Every delay feeds doubt. Every pause strengthens inertia. Meanwhile, the man who moves, even imperfectly, forces the world to respond to him. The world doesn't reward potential. It rewards motion, risk, direction. The man who decides gains authority over the one still considering. And over time, that gap becomes permanent. They let silence accumulate power. From the outside, successful men don't look impressive the way the world expects. They're not constantly talking. They're not explaining their vision. They're not performing ambition for an audience. Most of the time, they look almost boring. Steady routines, quiet habits, long stretches where nothing dramatic seems to happen. But that quiet is doing something. Silence lets power build without leaking. While other men burn energy trying to be seen, these men are conserving it. They repeat the same actions day after day, even when no one is watching, even when nothing feels exciting yet. Silence teaches patience. It forces a man to sit with uncertainty without soothing himself with words. It removes the comfort of early validation and replaces it with pressure. And that pressure, over time, turns into leverage. This isn't a strategy, it's a way of living. Silence instead of noise, movement instead of explanation, results instead of reassurance. These traits don't sound impressive in conversation, but they dominate reality. Once you see this, you can't unsee it. You start noticing who talks the most and who actually controls outcomes, who needs to be understood and who doesn't care, who performs strength and who simply has it. The real test isn't agreement. Agreement costs nothing. The question is whether you're willing to live without announcing yourself, whether you can move without permission, endure without applause, and trust results to arrive on their own time. Because when a man stops talking and keeps moving, reality starts speaking for him, and it speaks louder than words ever could.